It's such an honor to be able to record this conversation. The Start Now culture where we get to have all the conversation that we need to have in regards to just people going through the process of following their passion and doing what they believe it's their purpose. This is what we are calling the Start Now culture. And going through the process to build everything that you are building so that you can transform your better tomorrow.
Because I believe everyone is fighting for something, whether it's visibility, representation, a voice, or paper towels in the bathroom. Yes. That's the fight, right?
Yep, the recent fight.
And everyone, similar to purpose, everyone has what they have to fight for to make society better, whatever society that is, or community better, or their home better. So I think embracing your inner warrior means being honest that this is what I care about, and I'm okay with doing the work to make it, to fix it, or to fight it, or to challenge it, even if I'm the only one, or even if my method of fighting it is not as obvious or acceptable. This is what it is.
And I feel like that's the work that you chose to do. You went back to Ghana, you were writing all this, working in different environment that you were not accustomed to, and you were digging for what was so important to you and what you feel like was the purpose or the passion that you were called to do. So that's amazing.
Thanks.
I feel like people, I know I've seen you, but through having to just get to know you and seeing you on Instagram or on social medias and stuff, and just seeing the work that you're involved in, you're very selective in the work that you put yourself into. That's what
I like that I get credit for that. I think it's what God's put in front of me, honestly. I don't think I put myself in a lot of situations. That's been the miracle of my story, is I'm there and someone will ask me to do something and I'm like, me? They're like, yeah, obviously. So sometimes it's the people around you who see where you fit or what they would like you to do, and you go with that. And so that's why I say I stay adaptable. Because a lot of the work that I find myself doing now, if you asked me 10 years ago, I'd be like, no, I want to be on stage acting. I don't want. It's not even that I wasn't caring about it, I just didn't see myself in this way. And now that's what I've done. My word this year is surrender. I've surrendered to what it is, and that's where the room, I'm holding my dreams like this. I've let go and gone, okay, God, where is it that you want me to be? And he's like, right, I get the phone call, I get the email, I get the offer, and I'm like, oh, he will guide your path. Oh, that's it. So I can't take much credit.
Wow. I did not expect that to come out of that. I really did not expect it to go there, but I love that. Surrender. Do you get a word every year? How does that process work for you?
It's so interesting because after being in Ghana for so long, where, there's a lot of, we're a very spiritual people, whether it's your traditional beliefs, your Islam, your Christianity, your Catholicism, we're very spiritual, which is probably why, despite having all these different spiritual beliefs, it's a cohesive society, because everybody respects that you've got to believe in something. And so every year in Ghana, what you find is, regardless of whether it's a small Methodist Baptist church or a massive contemporary Pentecostal mega church, there's always like a proclamation. This is our year of double, our year of blessing. This is going to be the year of pushing forward, breakthrough. And often I'd be like, yeah. There's a general one. But I have found, at least in the last, let's say, 6 to 7 years, there has been, whether a word, a color, which, sometimes colors have meanings, or something that helps me drive through that year. So I remember 2018 or 19, a word that kept dropping was prepare. And I was like, prepare? So I thought it was, as usual, career, I'm going to prepare for my career, so I was like, okay. And a colleague of mine was getting these, what do they call them? Bracelets with like a word on it made. So she gifted
like
me.
beads ones.
Yeah, but this is like they stamp it into silver or something.
Yeah.
So she gave me one that had prepare on it.
Oh, wow.
And then I kept saying, I can feel like this is it for 2019, but I can't see 2020. When I think about 2020, it's just black. And then COVID happened, lockdowns happened, and it was a time of forced resetting. And I went, well, that's why. First of all, I'm not a fortune teller prophet. But secondly, it was because that year spiritually was like, you have to stop and reevaluate.
Yeah.
But this year surrender was a real big one.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to like holding and trying
and pushing. And this year you're just like, you know what? Whatever comes, then
if I ask you to guide me and I'm like, but this is what I think. Let it go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Through the word surrender, how does that come around when you think about connecting with people and your connection with humanity?
Yeah. I think it's key.
Yeah.
The world we're living in is so focused on the labels and the boxes that we then somehow feel like you're only allowed to engage with anyone who fits within the same box as you. But that's not how we were created. Mm-hmm. And if you look, and it's a very Western framework. It's only got to be people like me, because that's what builds the West.
Yeah.
It's the separating in order to subjugate. It's the removing of cultural signifiers to maintain a certain level of hierarchy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at most non-Western, non-New World cultures, it's, of course, there's caste systems, but generally we acknowledge each other's humanity on some level. It's like that thing of, the first time I moved to Ghana, I remember being getting my hair braided, and a whole bunch of kids walked into the shop, and there were 5, 6, 7, and the first thing they said is, "Good afternoon" to all of us. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, they're so brave. But that's because here, kids wouldn't even walk in and say hi, anything. Yeah. Because we're so used to like, don't talk to me, or what do you want? Yeah. Whereas there, it's like, we acknowledge that there are fellow human beings here, right? So for me, surrendering is about going, whoever comes across my path, or whoever's path I cross, is for a reason. And for me, part of that is that call, is that purpose of, I believe a lot in planting seeds, seeds of thought, seeds of that will help people have answers. And it's never about the right now. I can say something to you now, you're not going to think about it. Yeah. But in 2 months, 3 weeks, a year, 10 years, something will come across and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's what someone said to me years ago, and here I can apply it. So I don't believe anything is a mistake if you're asking to, whatever your belief system is, if you're living in that will of God or whatever, then no interaction is a mistake. So make the most of it.
A place where you find that you belong, where is it?
Oh, heaven.
On earth, heaven on earth.
Yeah, right. Different ones. I think a place I belong is with other thinkers. I'm a deep thinker. I go off on tangents, but I can sit here and be just in my own world going, oh, what about that? What about that? What about that? Yeah. So rooms where other people are, I love rooms of rich conversation, rooms where people are ready to share or build on. Anything where there's a historical interest, anthropological interest, race, interest, the intersections of faith, race, and artistry are places that I think I belong. Anywhere where there's dance with fellow African and that's one space where I'll say African in general.
Yeah.
Any space where there's African dance in its reality, drums.
Yeah.
Happy.
The tribe, the tradition.
The
dances.
tradition, the expression of culture and faith, the mocking of colonialism, the communication of ideas, the initiation of young ones, the welcoming, the mourning, the grieving.
They'll find you there.
Happy
and
days.
You're there.
Happy. Drums, happy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So would you say that that is your calling or your purpose, as you find that you are living in your own purpose through this experience that you've had through your journey and finding you here right now? Would you say that you have been living according to what you've been called or finding that passion?
I see it now.
Yeah.
When I first got back, I wept for months. I felt like the biggest failure. I mean, years.
Yeah.
Wept because I felt like I'd failed, because I hadn't achieved a certain level of visibility or visible success. I hadn't managed to achieve that in Ghana.
Yeah.
When you're in a place, and this happens to a lot of people, when you're a place where people can see your natural, the favor God has on you in a certain area and intentionally block it, intentionally stop it because of their own feelings of insecurity or inadequacy. That's one of the most humbling and difficult things to navigate. When you know you can do something and someone says no.
No, yeah.
That's where you're gonna have to learn to be humble. And so I've learned to stand on that verse that says, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. A lot of people stop at who love the Lord, but there's an and who are called according to his purpose. And that is to give people good news. That's to help people to find truth which sets them free.
Yeah.
And it's a personal thing. So I found now that none of the things I went through that were painful or difficult, none of the time I had to spend working on myself, becoming introspective, examining my own mistakes in terms of response to what was happening around, in terms of response to the jabs and the provocations, none of the horrible thought processes I had when I was angry was put to waste, because it brought me back. And when I got back, I was literally grounded, because I went into quarantine, got to New South Wales. I couldn't go out and socialize and tell my story because we were in lockdown for another 3 months.
Yeah.
So I had to deal with it. And then coming out of that, I did what we do, which is try and take control. So I was like, fine, I'm not doing any of it ever again. I stopped dancing. I stopped reading. I went into work on customer service, which I'm good at. But I went into an institution that I hated, and then eventually was at the point where God was like, are you ready now?
Yeah.
And I prayed a very specific prayer. I asked for specific things for one of the first times in my life. I said, okay, Lord, if this fire and passion to be in the arts is still here, it's keeping me up, I would love to get a job in the arts that requires no reference from my previous employer, that stands on work I have done through vision you've given me that has worked, and through what I believe was a good name that I had, because I didn't think I had one anymore. And the next day, Wanyika Mshila from two Sydney stylists, there was Niwa and Wanyika, called and said, are you in Australia? I said, yes. Are you still interested in working in theatre? I said, yes. We want you to lead a project for 7 Methods of Killing Kylie Jenner.
And that's when we met.
She said, there are 5 women at this table. One said your name and everybody, no, 7 women. One said your name, 5 know you, and they all said, Effie's the right person for this work. And I said, do you need my CV? She said, we don't want your CV. Do you need a reference? We don't need a reference because we've seen your work and we know how you are. And that was what got me to Brisbane to meet all of you guys. And so, yeah, you can see how it works from there. So I believe everything. You need to go through it all. Even when it's, go through it all, because the purpose will reveal itself. Even in what you think is purpose isn't always it.
How did you deal with that rejection, with the no, and the moment of finding grace?
Yeah, grace. Grace is a hard one because I'm highly critical of self, which is why I can catch what's missing in other things or other people or other, if I'm reading something, I'm like, no. I'm one of those kids that used to edit my friends' notes in high school. Very, very petty. But I was like, wrong word.
So I send you a text message, you're sitting there, like, I used to analyze it.
I was that kid. Why was I saying that? Grace. And so that means that I have very little grace for self. But I'm also an empath and a recovering people pleaser. So putting that mix together is quite dynamic because if you're a people pleaser, you have a lot of grace for everybody. You give everyone the benefit of the doubt, which gets you into horrible situations because you're like, they're a good person. And everyone's like, no, they're not. And you're like, oh, come on. And then you follow into the pit, right? You get hurt. But I'm an empath too. So I see people in a way that often shocks them. I read energy. And if your energy's off or I can't read you, mine's off completely. I can't function because I don't know if you're okay. That's because of how many times I'm not okay. So I really believe and this is me giving myself grace to go, I can see people. I see, and so that's what I've had to learn is how to have more grace for myself. How to go, you've made mistakes. Everyone does. There are people that are intentionally, consistently making mistakes or doing hurtful things. And they're hugely successful, right? And you're here trying to walk this thin and narrow line. No. So grace has been important because I'm living in grace and mercy now. I know the mistakes I made as a result of how I was feeling, the things I said, things I did, because I was in so much pain and confusion. And then I came back and held onto it all like a coat, a backpack. Like, I'm such a bad person. I wrote that email and it was horrible. And then you're grieving for longer than you have to be, when all you have to do is say, this is what I did, but it doesn't define me. Putting it down, and I can move forward.
And then you can continue doing what you are called to.
Exactly. And that's where I find myself now. So when people are like, oh, you're doing this, I'm like, it's grace, it's mercy, because it's new every morning. So if God gives me grace and mercy every day, I can afford to give myself that. And that it makes it easier to offer it to others.
How do you handle no's now?
Ooh, love them. Because I've learned that if it's a no, it's either it's not the right time or it's just not meant for you. And there are a lot of no's that I'm now grateful for, because I know that, and it actually gets exciting because you're like, oh, another no, but you've heard the inner voice or God telling you that this is something I want you to do, right? So it means that when it comes, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. It's gonna be awesome. So now I'm like, that's not so bad.
Thank you for taking the time and watching this conversation and learning and taking it all in. I have absolutely enjoyed having this conversation with Effie Nkrumah. I would like to ask one thing of you. Please subscribe to this channel, because this is what makes us better, knowing that you are watching and also you are following our journey. It helps us grow more than you think. Please also follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, LinkedIn, at Freely. Thank you.